welcome to Out of the Mouth of Babes, the podcast for our future leaders. Today we have a very special guest in the house, Mr. Carl Rhinehart III. But before I let Carl introduce himself, I'm going to have each one of the students introduce themselves and give a little background of who they are, what school they attend, what they're involved in, what their grades look like, and then we'll go from there.
My name's Savannah Hilbert. I go to Richmond High School. I am involved in sports like basketball, and my grades are good.
All right, next up.
Hello, everyone. I'm Michael Allen Lynch-Seda. I also go to Richmond High School, sophomore. I mainly just do poetry, and my grades are pretty excellent, if I do say so myself, but my parents probably wouldn't agree.
All right, we're going to turn it over to Mr. Rhinehart. I've had the pleasure of knowing Mr. Rhinehart for a number of years, but I'm going to give him about a minute or two to kind of describe who he is, and then I'm going to turn it over to the kids and let them ask questions.
Sure, appreciate it. Kevin, thanks for having me, students. A pleasure to be here. Carl Rhinehart III, originally from Muncie, Indiana, came to Richmond in '99, attended Earlham College and graduated in '03. I live here now with my wife and 3 children. Wife's a business owner in downtown Richmond. Children are 5, 4, and 1. Worked in the community, doing a number of things. Have a background in business. My degree is, and I've got an MBA as well. Also have some experience in mental health and working with youth, which I currently do now with my nonprofit Future Achievers. Also doing some work with DCS and probation, serving families, doing case management, things like that as well. So being involved in the community, active with youth and with families is a big priority for me and a lot of what I do. And just an all-around helper is what I try to be.
Starting off with Savannah, then we'll go Michael, and you guys go back and forth. And this is more of a conversation, so feel free to just interact.
What do you love about Richmond?
Good question. Richmond is very similar to Muncie. And so I remember growing up as a kid, some of the factories and things that we had at the time. And I know here, Richmond was a hustling, bustling place years ago as well. Saw some downturn when the factories and things left. Things are coming back. And so one of the definite things I think is Richmond is a place of possibilities. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity here, I believe. Things are moving, I think, in the right direction with some infrastructure, with some new opportunities, money coming in. And so I'm excited to see possibilities for more folks here in our community.
All right. Do you think that Richmond needs to add anything, like specifically attractions?
Oh, most definitely. Always room for improvement. One of the things that I know in my work with young people, they've talked to me and shared is our youth needs something to do in this community. Teens, high school students and middle school students I've talked to both who have said they feel like there's not enough for them to do here. Some students miss the Rexplex. They talk about some of the amenities that we do have maybe being too costly. I know transportation is an issue for young people as well. And so would definitely like to see us engage our young people more and provide some more recreational, but also educational opportunities. And I think this platform here is a huge one for our young people. So we can definitely do some more in those areas, supporting our teens.
What do you want in this position?
In this position, I want to make a difference. I want to make a difference for more people in our community. I do feel like there are some that see success and that have a chance to excel. And I think that sometimes it feels like it's kind of the same people or same organizations at times. And I think some of those folks are going to do well regardless. And so what I want to do is I want to serve more of the Richmond community, and I want to help more people across the board improve their quality of life.
That's pretty good to hear, man. Do you have any goals of things exactly that we need to build? Do you have anything that you yourself, as a child, have sought for in Richmond?
Ooh, yeah. Honestly, everything I do is around helping others, and so my personal goals are around serving. I work right now, like I said, with Future Achievers, and so we work with students in the high school and at the middle school as well. And so working real hard to connect with them and to provide, information and opportunities that they wouldn't otherwise have access to. Work with some adults as well in the community. And again, it's just about helping. And so making a difference is who I am. And that's what I do on a daily basis. It doesn't feel like work. It's a passion of mine. I believe it's my calling.
How will you support local businesses and just overall have like that growth?
Yeah, I think support for individuals, for businesses, all of it starts with communication. And so we got to have, I'm going to have open lines of communication. Another thing I want to do is get out and visit, be able to visit organizations more and to be able to talk with them and to hear firsthand about their experiences. And we get a lot of talk in our community. A lot of people have a lot of different opinions, as to how businesses are faring, what our downtown looks like, so on and so forth. But you really don't know until you get out and talk to those individuals directly. Like I said, my wife is a business owner. Her business is downtown Richmond, Dollhouse Salon, right on 7th and Main, and she's doing well. Her partner and her staff there are doing well for themselves. A really nice location that the owner has created for them, and so I know it can be done. I know some of the opportunities that she's been able to see and realize, and so definitely. Growth, I think, is on the horizon, and it is available for more people here.
That's good. Can you tell us how you plan to protect the people that you want to help?
Yeah, one of the things I've done already, some work is focusing on neighborhoods, and so I don't know if people know or if you all know that Richmond is carved up. If you were to look at a map, it's carved up into separate neighborhoods, and we used to have, I think, thriving neighborhood associations. It's actually still, to my knowledge, is still on the books, meaning that if you were to go to city code and look up the ordinance, you would find that language, neighborhood associations in there. They have a nonprofit already established that had funding to support activities in the neighborhoods as well. But somewhere along the way, I think the funding may have decreased. And then I know a key person that was involved retired. And when she retired, it seemed like that information and that work around neighborhood associations went with her. So one of the things I've been doing even before I decided to be a candidate for city council is I started to do some work on the neighborhood association. So try to uncover that information. I've been out to a couple neighborhoods and started to talk to folks that are living there. Some of the work I've done, one with Greenwood Apartments, that neighborhood there is one as far as going out and surveying the residents, kind of seeing what their needs are. But the big push is around the neighborhood associations. I believe if we can get our neighbors talking and if we can get resources into the neighborhoods, instead of trying to wait or make our people in the neighborhoods get up Chester Boulevard or get to the east side to get to resources, I think we'll be able to serve folks better. And then also to revive that sense of community. I mean, we got to have that in our neighborhoods to really feel safe. We got to know our neighbors. We got to talk to each other, and we have to support folks. And that's definitely something that I'll work to do, whether I'm in city council or not. I mean, I'm dedicated to that work.
What do you believe led you here to want to run?
Yeah, it was that passion of service, and so I see city council as an opportunity for me to serve at a deeper level. It provides, I think, a platform and an opportunity to collaborate with those that might be difficult for me or I'd had limited access to. Provides an opportunity for me to be more informed about how our government works and about how the system works, and look for opportunities and ways to be able to share that information with more in our community. Again, to help them rise up, as well.
Awesome.
All right. Let's go on the topic of education. As many of us know, that education can sometimes be a little bit crooked and not really necessary. What do you think you're going to do if you do manage to get into office to change that, make things more practical?
In education?
Yes.
One of the things, though, that I'll share with you all is that, city council, we do have limited roles. And so when it comes to education, per se, that's not something that a city council person directly has influence over or affects. Like I can't write an ordinance or propose an ordinance to affect, education or what Richmond Community Schools does. That's the job of the school board. But one of the things, though, that I would do and would like to do is get young folks like yourselves, more involved. Again, this platform is awesome. And I think, at the city level and I think on city council, I was just thinking before I came in, like we need to have a group of students, who are connected with the city councilors and city council in that process, whether that's you all coming through and shadowing, or if that's creating a youth council that would, provide advice, to city officials to help us understand, what you all are experiencing in this community, whether it be on an education standpoint or just from a safety or needs, standpoint as well. And then also, again, just to show you what happens in the city, how government works, so that way you all can be more involved now. And then also make plans to be involved and hopefully take our place, in the future. One of the things I can always do, and I will always do, though, is to lend an ear. And so, my information, my contact information is right on my cards that I pass out to the community. And so please feel free to call me, email me, anytime. Let's talk and share your ideas, and let's see how one way or another, we can make it happen.
What type of attractions would you like to add, or maybe see in attractions we might already have?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of let's look at what we currently have. Let's make sure we're utilizing it, and then let's find the gaps. If there are any, and right now, first thing that comes to mind is, and I know it's controversial, but it's the bike path. And I know there's people that don't like it and don't see value in it. But I would say try it first. I've been able to, I've got a bike and I've been able to ride on the bike path with the Richmond Rose Pedals. They have a great opportunity that they provide to community members on a monthly basis, taking rides throughout town. And it's really changed my perspective on the city. The other thing I noticed too, when I go vacation, I went to Florida over fall break. Guess what we did?
Road bikes.
Road bikes. I mean, what I'm saying? It's you go to Florida, you go to these vacation spots, that's exactly what they're doing. We hopped on an electric bike and we went all over that city. And it was a great way to really see that community. And so that would be one. And I'm not necessarily talking about promoting the bike path. I mean, that would be part of it, but really it's promoting bike riding. And so one of the things I saw that was cool that I keep talking about are these what's called SE bikes. And so you get a chance, jump on YouTube and just search SE bikes, and you'll see some of the rides they're doing in Philly and some of the rides they're doing in New York. And I mean, you got 20, 30, 50, young kids on these big BMX bikes. They look like a mix between like a mountain bike and a BMX bike. They're doing wheelies down the street and things like that. So I seen a group of them in Fort Lauderdale, and they were riding, and they're like, man, this is what we do, like all day long. They're on bikes riding. And when you talk about safety and things to do, here's another one. I mean, if we could put these kids on bikes, which I don't see a lot of young people riding bikes now, but if we were able to put them on bikes and they were riding through the city, on bicycles, I mean, these are kids that, aren't out doing the wrong things, providing positive outlets for them. Another attraction, I think there's plans already in the works to do some development in the Gorge area. That's another attraction that you'll see if you go vacationing is waterways, activities along the water. And so being able to have walking trails, being able to have boat launches to put your kayak and canoes in the waters and things like that. Zip line they're talking about as well. I mean, those are great, attractions, not only for vacationers or folks coming to our city, but it's also great for us as community members to be able to use. Biggest thing about it, too, is it promotes physical fitness, and getting out and doing something active, which is great for our health. So,
Carl, one of the things you mentioned was the bike riding. And as you know, from when we were growing up, that's all we did. And it's interesting how things are coming back around, because we realize that those things are still valuable experiences for youth. And so that's a very interesting perspective.
Would love to see it.
All right. What's your thoughts on old Richmond? Like the old stuff we have from maybe like when you were our ages or before then. Do you want to replace it with something new, or do you want to keep it and embrace the old?
No, I think we definitely have a place for the old, to embrace. And I didn't grow up here, but when I came, one of the things that I learned really, and that was promoted a lot was Richmond's rich jazz history, right? I mean, this is called the birthplace of recorded jazz. And I think we've done a great job and would love to see even more expansion as far as celebrating that, how the city has, or whomever, don't want to miscredit folks, but how they have rehabbed the record studio down in the Gorge area. And you've got kind of their walk of fame down there. If you ever, go on a bike ride or walk down there, you'll see the plaques of the different artists that came through. I mean, our jazz legacy is huge, and we had big names, come through this community. I would really love to see us do more with that. I'm surprised we don't have with that, a jazz club in this community, or venues that have jazz artists coming through and celebrating that, maybe even remaking some of what would have looked like in those days, a jazz experience. But we've got Elstro Plaza, which I like as well. Again, as I'm traveling, I'm seeing these spaces that look just like these spaces that we have in Richmond, or that we're trying to create. And so again, the opportunities, it's crazy also, to think about what's on the horizon here and what we can do with this community. But I say let's embrace it. Our civil rights, Underground Railroad history, as well too. If you jump on the Tourism Bureau's website, you'll find the Black History Trail and, Levi Coffin House, but then you'll also see some more local places. It talks about the Negro League history, that we have here as well too. Awesome, and we definitely should be celebrating that and building up around that, while we also, though, I think embrace the new,
Carl, you talked about a couple things that I wanted to pinpoint. You mentioned the fact that you graduated from Earlham. Talk to us a little bit about how you see the role of the colleges in town, which there are 4 really, and how they could help efforts, or what are they doing to help the efforts of things that could be done at City Council, if any. And then you also really mentioned that people don't necessarily understand the role of city councilors. And so if you could touch bases on that and tell the folks out there, what are some of the specific things that you guys deal with and that you can impact that'll help students out or the community?
Sure. As far as the colleges go, I think, first and foremost, I think we need to have a good partnership as far as the city. We need to have a good partnership with our institutions of higher education, our colleges. When I was a student at Earlham, honestly, and I've talked to some people here recently, and they think they felt the same way, is that, Earlham and Richmond didn't have the greatest relationship back then. And may still be struggling in that area, even now. It just felt, when I was a student, I felt like, campus was one place, and it was like we didn't even really feel a part of the city. And I think that's a shame, and especially when I think about, again, we talk about young people like yourself, and we're looking at opportunities. These colleges have some amazing opportunities for you all to engage, to get a better understanding of what college looks like, and for you all to be able to, plan for your future, whether it's, summer opportunities to be able to take courses, opportunities to be able to come on campus and take tours, so on and so forth. But it's a huge opportunity to have so many colleges in a small town. For you all to be able to choose from. And I think as far as that collaboration goes, one of the things we need to be focusing on is retaining students like yourselves who are engaged and involved, who are doing well in the classroom, and that want to make a difference. We have to do a better job of partnering to retain you all, because what I feel like has happened over the years, and there's been some reporting on what they call brain drain, meaning we get seniors who graduate from high school here in Richmond and Wayne County, and they go elsewhere. They go out of our city, they go out of state, and it takes them a while to return back to our community, if they return at all. And so, again, with so many institutions, I think we got a real opportunity to be able to keep you all here closer to home, and to be able to help us continue to grow and thrive. As far as city council, so what we do, we are the legislative branch of government. And so as far as my understanding, we have 2 primary roles, and one is to pass the city's budget. And so that budget will come from department heads, be presented, also the mayor, and then it comes to city council, and then city council finally gives, the yes or no on passing that budget. The other part is ordinances, is what we call them here. It's the same thing as laws, essentially. And so, those laws come before city council. We have the ability to sponsor those and put some laws on the books, as well as hear, from others. Some of the zoning applications and things like that will come before city council as well too. And to get honestly more information about it, or to get some exposure, if you're not able to go to a city council meeting and sit in, which those are public meetings, those are open for the public to be able to go in and listen to or to observe. But you can also jump on WCTV. They have a website. They record all of those, and it's great to be able to sit back and watch those through WCTV.
What specific plans do you have to address affordable housing in our city?
Yeah, great question. Affordable housing, one of the things we got to do is we have to understand the housing situation and the situation of folks here in our community. For instance, understanding that we have a lot of people in this community who are working and who want to do well, who want to thrive, but aren't making enough money to make ends meet. I did a little bit of research, and there's a couple things you can find. Wayne County's livable wage. There's an MIT website that has that information out there. And what I found for a single parent with 3 kids, do you know any single parents that might have 3 kids? Don't say any names, just think of them. Keep that in your mind. So for a single parent with 3 kids, to be able to, a livable wage for that parent is $47 an hour. $47 an hour. It comes out to, like, if they get 40 hours a week, my rough math came out to somewhere like around $90,000 a year, $90,000 a year. A single parent with 3 kids making $90,000. I don't know. I know several single parents in that situation, but not making $90,000 a year. You think of some of the jobs that we have, at $15, $20 an hour, they're missing the mark. And this livable wage was only to meet the basic necessities. So you're talking housing, you're talking food, transportation, medical care. I mean, we're not talking about going on vacations or, showering your kids with gifts on Christmas, those type of things. We're talking just the basics. And so, as a city leader, we have to understand that first and foremost, we have a population, a certain number of people who aren't making that livable wage. And so it's going to be difficult for them to be able to pay for housing and take care of their daily needs. The other thing with that, when you talk about affordable housing, so there's some information out there online too that says we should not be spending more than 30% of our income on housing. Okay. And so I did some rough calculations. And so if your rent is $600 a month, you need to be making $2,000 a month to afford that $600 a month rent. The people that I work with, that I come into contact with, are living on fixed incomes, or they're living on low wage jobs, and they're not making that $2,000, a month to be able to cover that rent. And then again, if that's a single parent, if they have children, those costs just go up and up. And so, again, we have to realize what the true needs of the people are. And you're not going to get that from sitting behind a desk, kind of armchair quarterbacking this thing. You got to get in the community and walk alongside some people to understand. But some things that we can do. Definitely we can do some blight prevention. And I talked to a person in office now who shared a great idea as far as trying to prevent some of the blight that we're seeing. So catching homeowners and assisting them with making improvements to the homes before the homes get to a place where they can't be habitable and they have to be torn down. The other thing I think we can do is we can get with our landlords and get them together and kind of talk with them and understand their position a little bit better and kind of what they're dealing with, try to find some support, some financial support for them as well. I mean, they're offering a great service to our community, and I think they're, some of them have their backs against the wall when it comes to having to renovate some of their properties, clean up some messes, things like that. So I think there's a number of things that we can do, understanding, again, where the shortfalls are, and again, it's about filling those gaps.
All right.
This will be the last question, Michael.
All right. This is going to be a question about, do you know the old Reed Hospital?
Yeah.
That large field there? If you could, what would you put there to help the community?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'll say, just to answer that off the top of my head, I would honestly say I don't know at this point. What I would want to do would be, again, to kind of poll the community to see what's needed. The other thing I want to do is I want to make sure we don't have another site that we could use now, rather than build on that site. And what I mean is that, if I was to jump the gun and say, for instance, let's say we put a recreational facility over there. Okay, let's put a recreational facility, and we jump and we build that new. Well, we've got the Rexplex, which we had, is sitting on the east side of town. It's sitting empty. What happens then to that building? If we continue to just build up and just throw money on new projects, we're not doing anything with the existing properties that we have that continue to sit and continue to deteriorate. And so I would want to take a quick step back, again, kind of poll the community, put some folks together, and see what the need is. But again, I have heard of maybe doing like some sports fields out there. And again, great idea. But, I'm thinking about the fields on the west side. I mean, you got REO over there who's offering a great service to our community. If we do something new, is it going to take away from a program that we currently have? And I don't want to build new as a detriment, to kind of what we currently have going on. I would want to, again, invest in them and fill the gaps where we need to.
Thank you, Carl. I am super excited that you were able to join us on Out of the Mouth of Babes. I'm going to give you a few minutes to just kind of tell the folks out there your outro or your elevator speech. But again, it is a pleasure to have known you for such a long period of time, to have seen you evolve in the work that you're doing in the community. So, Carl, tell the folks a little bit.
Man, I think your students did a great job asking some very thoughtful questions, and I hope I was able to give some informative answers to that. Honestly, at this point, all I can say is, again, I'm a servant, of this community. It's what I do. It's my passion. It's my calling. Grateful to God for this opportunity to be here with you all, and for what He's done in my life. And I look forward to serving this community as its next city council person at large. But if not, if the community does not vote me in office, know that this isn't the end of me. You're going to see me still yet out there working and serving as I have, and I'll continue to do that. But I would appreciate the community's vote. Come November 7th is the last day to vote. So that way we can do the things that I talked about here and invest in this community. It's all about working better together. And so collaboration, is key. And so know that if I'm in the seat, it's not we just put Carl in council and now we're going to let him go. No, I'm calling on all of you to be at the table and to have conversations and to help us do this work, because it definitely takes us working together to make it happen.
Out of the Mouth of Babes, a podcast for our youth. Thank you, Carl Rhinehart III, product of Muncie, Indiana, by way of Earlham College. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you for all the work that you're doing in the community. Continue to keep the work that you're doing. We're out.